empowering you to build better lives. That's what we do. So, welcome to today's edition of Empower Podcast, the podcast dedicated to the art of empowerment or finding control of one's life. And what did we define it as? Claiming one's right. So today we have two amazing guests, a mother-daughter duo, the first of the podcast. Eileen Williams, been in the business since 1990, coming from an HR background, the corporate HR, we're going to get into that. And Ashley Robichaud, who happens to be the daughter. I don't know how that worked out. The names are different, but we'll get into that as well. Who's been in the business since 2000. What did you just tell me? 2006. Both team elites, been around for a little while despite their looks. So we're going to jump into this thing. So thanks for joining the podcast. And you guys are here because you have a whole team downstairs. We pulled you out. And so thanks for taking the time. This is a really good opportunity for us to just chat and talk about empowerment. So I want to start with you, Eileen, because you asked, what is the purpose of this podcast and what are we really trying to accomplish? And I said, we're here to talk about empowerment and we're going to jump right into a journey here. So I want to get there to 1990, take yourself all the way back. What was going on in corporate America? And you just said, I got to do something different.
Well, I had been laid off. Let's see, that happens to people. I actually had gotten out of corporate America already and marketed myself as a consultant because that's the next progression, going from a job to how can I be an independent contractor and market myself, make more per hour and be sort of more flexible at my time. But at the same time as having children. So Ashley was 5. I had a 2-year-old little boy and I had just had a baby.
Okay.
And so I was at that point now, I'm crying myself to sleep at night, praying to God for an opportunity where I could work from home with flexibility and own my own life is really what I wanted. I didn't want to report to anybody anymore.
You were done with that.
I was done with that.
HR world.
I was done with that. So when I looked at this business, what impressed me was that I wasn't going to have a boss. Yay. And even more than that, I wasn't going to have employees because coming from HR, I don't know how much you know about HR.
Yeah, we know a lot
but
about
I can
HR.
tell you
In fact,
what,
they briefed me before doing this podcast.
The idea of being completely on my own and that if something was going to happen, it was up to me. I was actually empowered by that concept.
Good tie into the name of the broadcast as well. So what did you do in HR? What was your specialty? And when you started to market yourself, because you can't just market yourself as nothing, but what's your specialty?
My specialty was helping startup technology companies get launched. And that's how I marketed myself. And that's how I actually met one of our top leaders. I ended up working for Jim Hedzicki. He was the COO of a company named One Voice Technology, which was one of the first voice recognition technology companies that had launched. And I literally cold called him and I said, I could probably help you get all your HR stuff handled. And that's what I did. And I'd help them hire, set up the benefits, all of the things that HR has to do, but on a small scale as they're just starting.
And did you find that fascinating or fascinatingly boring?
Well, it's fascinating.
I'm just curious, right? I mean, did it light you up or was it more like
I'll tell you why I loved HR is because I love people. And I'm a little strange in that I love the challenges that people bring. And I love the idea that I could possibly help them achieve whatever goal or dream that they had, even within corporate America. So I get really excited about helping people set a dream or a goal, a vision, and start to believe that they can achieve it. And that's probably what lights me up the most.
So would you say that you've always kind of been very people oriented then?
Yes.
Very like even as a kid, were you kind of interested? Were you a social person?
I think I was more on the shy side, but I did like to tell stories. And that's sort of when I figured out in this business, it works great. But I would say I wasn't like Ashley, where she's more life of the party, the president of the sorority. No, for me, I was more shy.
Okay.
But I've always loved people.
Always loved people.
I started in finance.
Okay.
And then I moved into HR because I like the people.
Interesting. So that now makes more sense. So you have a finance background.
Yeah.
Our conversations are more oriented to that. So that's good. Okay. So let's bring Ashley in. So Ashley, you were 5 years old. Mm-hmm. So what did you think? No, I'm kidding. You didn't remember when your mom decided. So let's go into your journey a little bit. So how were you raised by your parents? And answer it how you want to answer it. How were you raised?
How was I raised? I was raised in a loving, fun family.
Yep.
But that being said, you could tell that my mom, there was something missing, maybe from a piece of joy or being who she knew she could be. Mm-hmm. And not that she was unhappy, just that she wasn't maybe necessarily like thriving, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So, but like we had a great, my childhood was great. I mean, the troubles that I had in childhood had nothing to do with my family. I was bullied in junior high, which was an interesting thing for, to go through as a family.
Yeah.
Bullied to the extent
pretty
of
heavily
taken out of school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like,
and
got
this
the
is in
FBI involved.
San Diego?
Yeah. In junior high. So I became a gymnast.
Okay.
A little bit later than
me too.
Oh, yeah.
What years?
Yeah. So I became a gymnast, and quickly picked it up.
Yeah.
And within a year became a competitive gymnast.
Okay.
Was really good at it. And then in junior high, it was basically like I had these friends for kindergarten to 6th grade, and then went to junior high, but I was like the weirdo who was at the gym all the time. I wasn't into boys or
and drugs. That was a bullying thing?
So letters of death threats.
But from friends, past
friends that we didn't know who it was from. So they had to take me out of school, and just, it was this whole thing. And I think a part of my passion is that I think that women or girls, junior high age is such a interesting age because you really don't know who you are, and you can be so impacted, whether it be positively or negatively, depending on your environment. And I will say that my parents were my rocks during that time. And so because they were so solid in who they were as moms and dads, that they got me through all of it. So you're the oldest of three, right? And only girl.
And it seems, I usually ask, were you self-confident or self-conscious as a child? Would you orient more to that? I would think you would have answered self-confident as a young kid, raised with supportive parents. Then you have that moment happen in junior high school. What happened?
Yeah, I lost
Did it destroy you?
It did. Yeah. And the same year I lost my grandfather, who was my dad's dad, who I would say second to my mom. I was most like him.
Okay.
His spirit of being outgoing, knowing everyone's name, wanting to know everyone's story. I was most like him. So to have the bullying episode and to lose him, that year rocked my world.
That was a crushing year.
And
so that would have been, Eileen, for you. So 2005, you were, I'm trying to do the math here. So how old, where were you in that journey, Eileen, when she started to be bullied? What year was that? Was that the 90s, I guess it would have been? And I'm trying to put it on a new skin horizon.
Right.
How did you deal with it as a mother?
I was born in 84, and I was probably 13.
See, I didn't want to ask that.
I was the same age as new skin.
That's right. You're a new skin baby. That's right.
I pulled her out of school. And it everything kind of bad that happens, if you look back in your life, actually leads you to something greater. And what happened was we had been thinking about a private Christian school. And at that moment, I'm like, it's time. And we pulled her out of public school and put her into a private Christian school, which was where she met Kat.
Oh, really?
That's where
that's where she met Kat.
We could have gone a whole nother hour.
Let's get into the stories. It all leads back to 4-star platinums. No, so at the time, very painful, awful, horrible. Yeah. I actually had been over in Thailand helping the opening in Thailand at the time, and they called me and I came home when that happened, and so it was difficult.
As a mother, what do you do when that happens to your child? Like how did you, so obviously you got on the first plane home and said, let's go. But how did you process that from the anger and because you're a pretty passionate person.
Well, I just called the principal and I said, we have to have a meeting and I want to know who I want to know who wrote this letter and not as a revenge. I wasn't interested in revenge. I was actually worried about the person that wrote the letter. That truly
it was that deep.
Because the person that wrote the letter had some issues. And so we called all the parents of all the friends all together. And the principal said, you know what, we don't plan on discovering who it is, which was disappointing. That was their attitude. But this is what happened. And it made an awareness at least of that. And I got more involved on that scale. But I just chose to remove her from the environment and, start over in a more loving. What we found was that the junior high, I don't know if every school's like this. Elementary schools seem to be fine, the public school there. But when they get to that age, they're a little out of control, and there's about 1,000 of them altogether. And the public school system didn't seem to know how to handle it. And anyway, you just sort of have to take the bull by the horns.
Yeah, my welcome to middle school was a 9th grader punching me in the stomach. That was it. That was the welcome. I'm like, okay, that felt good. So no, I mean, it's tough. So kind of let's get into this, because it would seem to scar someone, that sort of deep event, right, at a time was so formative in your years, would maybe cause people to distrust friends, right, or anyone. So when I see you today, your whole business today is actually the exact opposite of what you just described happened to you. Like everything, we were down there last night, right, watching your team. It is all about supporting each other. It's all about supporting women. It's all about providing opportunities to strengthen strength instead of the other. So is that a conscious, or were you so scarred that way that it's like, no, we're going to build our business that way?
Well, I think that, from a very young age, I was always known for being the happy, loving person. That's who I am. So I think for me, there was an element of, is it possible to be in a group of women and not experience what I experienced in junior high? And because my high school, I had a different experience of that.
Which was
with
good.
Kat, which was good. Okay. That I then started to create a different belief of, okay, it doesn't always have to be that way. And so then I just created a new story that there are women that will be the women that, you attract your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And not everyone will like me or, be my people. But there are going to be people that are my people. And I've just kind of always had that.
So dive into that, because I always tell my kids, I heard it wherever, like where the stories we tell ourselves are the most important stories out there, right? And you said, I created a new story. So is that something that was conscious? Was that something, Eileen, that you kind of taught her to think through? How did you revamp that narrative in your head from junior high school to high school?
When you went to college and joined a sorority, which I have a whole other experience of that. But and then she became...
What kind of... We should get into that one.
That's a good one. That's a really good
My daughter joined one, so I have my own opinions.
Well, I went to a high school that had them. So and that's a really interesting age to have a sorority. So that was my experience. So I wasn't really interested in college in that experience.
Okay.
But Ashley, when she went to college, and then she'd done some personal development courses.
Okay.
In fact, a course that's a 4-day course. And at the end of the course, you have to set like an outrageous goal. And she comes home from the course and she said, Mom, I want to become president of my sorority. And it was like, whoa, okay. I said, you know what? If that's your goal, you can do it. And go do it. And she went back and she got elected president of her sorority.
But I will say that in that what was fascinating about that is I never thought I wanted to be the president of my sorority. Like it wasn't something going into sorority, like, oh, this is my path.
Yeah.
But our sorority had hit like a weird year of like, it could have gone two ways.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, is there something I can do to make it go the way in which I want it to go?
Mm-hmm.
And then I like prayed about it and had that course, and it came to me, you are the person. Like, it's not going to be anyone else. Like, you are the person to take it down that path that you think that it should be. And I knew it wasn't going to be an easy path.
Yeah.
And I knew that like it would take up a year of my, junior year of college.
Yeah.
But it's not always about taking the easy path.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew that I needed to do it. And so I was so grateful that I went back and I said, I'm going to do it. And I was going against a lot of girls that were seniors that had the legacy.
Yeah.
And I there was a part of me that was hesitant of like, will there be a bullying element?
Right.
Like, will they like attack?
For sure.
Because this is a junior coming in like, oh, you think you're hot stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I prayed and came, I did a speech and came from my heart. And I said, this is where I'm coming from. And this is my vision. And I got it with like a landslide.
Oh, that's
like it
awesome.
Became, and it changed the whole direction of the whole sorority.
So what did that teach you about life then?
It taught me that you have to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may like fight it.
Yeah.
But it will come back up. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that if God gives you something, like he gives you the intuition of like, okay, you have to do this.
Yeah.
That he gives you everything you need to make it happen. Like you have everything within you to create that. And I think as like humans and women, we want to know like how to do it.
Yeah.
We want to know every step. We want to know, and this is on my team. They want to know exactly.
Yeah. And
they have to realize that if they connect that, first of all, they're worthy of it.
Yeah.
And that they're capable of doing it. That the moment that they have like this divine like alignment of like, this is what I want and I'm willing to do it, God gives you everything that you need to make it happen. And it happens quicker than you think. Yeah. And probably in a way that you can't imagine.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's all a part of it's
so
like the obstacles
to trust it,
are
right?
the way.
You have to have faith.
Yeah. And I like thinking of my son's, I have a 7.5-year-old. He's into video games.
Yeah.
I almost see life as like a video game. Yeah. Like you are like each step you go, there's gonna be obstacles that come. Yeah. But they're designed there on purpose.
Right.
For you to like go through them and become the person you need to become to step into that.
It's like true game theory, but it's in practicality. Yeah, we talk about like I always tell my kids, it's like hope becomes belief, becomes faith, becomes truth, right? But it's like your journey requires that hope, belief, faith, truth path. So, okay, so let's kind of keep going on transitioning now. So from parenting and team building, because so you go into the sorority, Eileen, you're at that time, you're in new skin, going full at this thing. I want to talk a little bit about how is what you're doing now, and I'll start, Eileen, with you as mother to Ashley, but how is empowerment similar from a team building perspective and raising kids? Like, is it that different? Do you take a different approach? Are you softer, harder, more aggressive, less aggressive? Like what's your take on empowering others versus your own kids?
Well, I think it's similar. It's similar. Okay. Of course, I might be a little harsher with my kids.
Really?
In fact, we joke.
Pretty tough?
Well, we joke because when I come on a little strong with some of the team, I say, "Oh, you're." Okay, sorry. I feel like you're my daughter.
You're getting the
you're getting
mom.
You're getting the family. You're getting the family last night.
Which is a blessing, right?
Yeah. Last
it's a
night.
compliment.
It was so funny. I know. So, but
at your meeting?
Well, what happened was, I got to hear this.
No, it was. Give me the 30 seconds.
It was. There was a change up in the.
The MC.
In the MC.
Okay.
So it was last minute that I was even going to MC last night. So, which was, okay, that's good. We got to do something that we're
do
not.
It. Yeah.
Right. So, and then they had all these announcements they wanted. I said, can someone else do the announcements? Because honestly, like, I just got to get through this.
Right.
making sure everyone knows Ryan's so amazing. Right?
Yeah, which is a tough task.
No, it's not a tough task. So anyway, there was a volunteer that said, I will do it.
Okay.
And the volunteer had like leggings and not darling girl, of course. But I just
oversized sweatshirt.
Oversized, you know, cute for sitting by the fire. Love it. Or even sitting in the audience, cute.
Yeah.
And then I just said, are you going to change
for stage?
So that wasn't.
It was like a moment of like,
it didn't go over.
Many times she's looked at me and she's like, go on stage in an hour.
Are you going to put lipstick on?
The hotel's only over there.
The lipstick is usually it's like, so I'm always, so if you see with lipstick, this is.
A little coaching never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So no, I do coach people.
So with your kids, so you've been a fairly direct mother, and with your team, you tend to be a little bit softer until they need it.
Well, this is a business where nobody works for anybody. So I think there's a really fine line of I never wanted to have people feel like it's their business. So the coaching or the advice or anything I want them to know is coming from just a place of love. We don't want to come from a place of rules or things like that. Whereas in my home, we would have rules. You know, we have. I'm
That's
a little.
How you do it.
I'm a little strict.
Okay.
And I think it pays off. And my kids are, you know, Ashley and my two boys are three of the most loving, amazing, like. I'm probably the most proud to be the mom of these three kids. So, you know, in my life.
But I will say what she does so great as a leader is she meets people where they're at, which I think is such a crucial thing in the business that we do is truly meeting people where they're at and knowing what they want. You know, there's people that want to be team elites. And so we know, okay, if that's what you want to do, we'll meet you with where you're at. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay too.
That's okay. I almost feel like that's, to me, the key of parenting, right? Is understand each child's so different.
Oh, yes.
I've tried to be cookie cutter and it doesn't work at all, right? And so going through that. So
and you can't be cookie cutter with leaders either.
No,
every
absolutely
person,
not.
every human is so
absolutely not. No, it's absolutely. I agree with that completely. The benefit on the team elite side is that they all kind of arrived at the same place in different ways. And so at least there's that commonality you can start from. Whereas as you're describing, like life's a journey and you really do have to meet people where they are. And as you said, independent contracting, it's do it at your pace, your speed. And we're here to help you do that, right?
Right.
So I'm going to ask this question. I'll ask you both, but what is your empowerment success formula? Like if you had to boil it down to what are the 3 to 5 principles that when I think of helping someone else, what are the things that I do persistently and consistently in the team? Or is it methodical like that?
Well, we focus a lot on mindset. And what I mean by that is that most people are running around, and I'd say especially women, are running around with an I'm not good enough conversation. It's very common. I mean, it's probably 98% of the women out there are not feeling like they measure up to the whoever they are measuring up to. So I believe that, you know, we really try to help people understand that the beliefs that they have are their limiting beliefs that are coming, that they have control over, that's running their life. So we try to talk a lot about belief systems, limiting beliefs, what's maybe holding you back and what you can break out of. And the conversation, the story that you tell yourself is what you're going to attract. So we spend a lot on that. And
in fact, you started your event on that, which I thought was interesting.
We always do. We always start our event on that. And it's probably the greatest thing that we do because it sets the stage for what happened last night set the stage for the most incredible event that we have ever had, I know is going on right now. And because we plant that in their mind that they have control over that, who do you want to be? It was so great. It was like, the perfect person that you want to bring onto your team, be that person this weekend. And what does that person look like? They show up, they're on time, they're enthusiastic, they're all the things.
And you have them write it down? I mean, you just have them think through that.
Yeah, think through it. And come to that agreement of that's who I want. So guess what? That's who I need to be. And so it's all about being and being present and being that person. And so we just really try to help people understand that we as humans can create the life that we want, but only by busting out belief systems that have been planted there, most likely from our parents or experiences at school or things, whatever we've made up that we've told ourselves about what happened. It's not really what happened. It's what we told ourselves about what happened, you know, that says, oh, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not, smart enough, or I'm not, when I worked with technology companies, only 10% of engineers that graduate are women. And they've taken that down to the reason that is because little girls are told by everyone that girls aren't good at math. And so that goes through life. You go through life. So I always told Ashley, you're good at math. You're good at math. You're so good at math. We're good at math.
2 + 2 is 5. No, I'm kidding.
Right. But, it's really what you tell yourself. And then she witnessed from me rewriting my story because I let my limiting beliefs hold me back for years. And then when she was away at college and I decided to rewrite my own story and start telling myself different things and start surrendering to the process and having fun doing things that I never wanted to do or never thought I would do. She's witnessing that. She's like, whoa, what happened to mom? And so, and
that's
then
the greatest, that's the greatest gift that my mom's giving me. Is that she had the courage to go for her dreams and make her dreams happen as her child, as her daughter. I said, because she can, I can. And it truly was and still is the greatest gift. And when I think of that question, I actually think of the 5 things when I tell my story and my breakthrough moment, which was February 20th, 2017. I had a 6-month-old and I had been going through, I call it my new mom fog. It was a little bit of postpartum depression. And what was happening for me internally was my biggest dream in life was the same dream as my mom. I wanted to be a successful businesswoman, but I also wanted to be a wife and a mother. And when I had my son, I had the joy and the dream of being the wife and the mother. But I was deeply missing something inside of me that knew that I was meant for more. It knew I could be more, do more, give more. It knew I could be a team lead, but I wasn't a team lead. I was an executive. And on February 20th, 2017, one of my friends in the business, who has no relation to us in our it's a sideline friend. She called me up and she said, we've been doing this social media and it's been working. You love this company. You love social media. What are you waiting for? And I truly fell to the ground, which I think a lot of people, if you've never experienced that, break down. I'm talking tears, alligator tears, for probably an hour while my son was crying. And instantly out of a deep, what have I been doing? What's going on? And a letting go.
So a negative experience?
It was a breakdown of a letting go. Okay. It was, imagine this. It was like a snake shedding her skin. I literally had to get rid of the old for the new. And instantly 5 things happened. So when you say the empower thing, these are the 5 things that I think, and probably a huge part of my story and giving to the world is, and I called my mom and then I called my husband, said the same thing. This is it. It's my time. I'm doing it. And these are the 5 things that just happened. 1, I said, I'm going to be okay with being a beginner again. And I said, because if you haven't been successful in this business or on social media, you have to be okay with that. And I think the thing that holds people back is they're so good at parts of their life and they come here and they're like, I just can't.
Right.
To be a beginner is a humbling experience.
For sure.
So you have to surrender to that. And I said, okay, I'm going to surrender to that. I'm going to be okay with being a beginner again. 2, I'm going to stop comparing myself to other people because comparison will rob you of all joy in life. And this was a really big one because there were just really successful people in the UK and in the US. And some of them look like supermodels and some of them, you know. And I will say that like recently I've discovered the biggest person I compared myself to was my mom. That I never thought I could be as good as her. Because at the time when I got into New Skin,
makes sense,
she was the greatest and the best story, and I traveled the world, and I'm so grateful for that. But yet it was like the bigger she got, the more I was like, I can never be her. And so I had to stop comparing myself to her and to other people. 3, I had to let go and like stop caring about what other people thought about me. So back to the bully thing, I thought I had busted it up, but when you build a business on social media and you live your life
you're
out
out there.
You are out there.
You were out there.
And this is something that I still struggle with. Like I have so many people on my team that do stories every day and they do lives and they do things, and I'm like good in my safe space. If I'm with my team who I know loves me, if I'm, you know, that's my element. The second I go out, there is a little bit of a hesitation where I still feel like there's a part of that back to junior
So you're
high.
human.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's pretty normal, but
stop caring about what other people thought. Because if you live a life on social media, you have to. And that's where I discovered that when you're authentically you, you're going to attract the people that want to be with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's going to, no matter what you do or who you are, there's going to be people that don't like you. And you just accept that. They're not my people. And it's okay. And 4th was a really, really big one because I had been in the business for 11 years at that time, 2006 to 2017. I had told myself that I was a failure and that I couldn't do it. And on that day, I said, I have to, first of all, forgive myself for telling myself that story, let go of that story and rewrite the story. So I said, I'm going to create the greatest story. And I'm going to launch the United States and I'm going to have the fastest growing team in the world. And I've been telling myself that since 2017. And I just said, this is the story I'm creating. And then 5th, which is a big part of my mom's story, is on that day I said, I'm going to finally be willing to do whatever it takes. And I believe that when you make that decision, that's when God brings everything and all the things and all the people. And that's why within 41 days, I believe between February 20th, 2017 to the end of March was literally the momentum that created all that I've created to this day. Because I've never worked as hard as I've worked in those 41 days.
No, I love that.
And people have, and then everyone wants to know, what'd you do in those 41 days? I'm like, I could tell you and it wouldn't matter because it was my 41 days.
That's right.
And it was my breakthrough experience.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about a breakthrough experience, and I know it was hard for her, you know, you think of the butterfly.
Yeah.
Did you know that if you actually had a cocoon in front of you and you tried to bust out the butterfly, that the butterfly would be crippled? Because the butterfly has to go through the constant process of transformation of doing it itself to break the cocoon. Yeah. And that's like, to me, the empowerment thing, finding the way we can be as humans to have an environment of love where the human that you want to empower feels empowered enough to go do it, because they have to do it.
They do,
I can't do it.
We all do.
We all do. We all do.
But I'm listening to this story, right? And it's a beautiful story. And I think how fortunate, right, you were to be raised by a mother who set an example, despite the fact that it does create other effects, right? And but I always ask, so what percentage of the population is capable of doing what you've done, right? Because when I listen to the experiences, the reality is, the world just doesn't all think this way, right? I mean, this is why sales organizations always have the 1%. I mean, it's any performance-driven organization. It's athletics. It's my daughter just got into university playing volleyball. Only 1.6% of all volleyball players in the world get D1 scholarships, right? So there's always 1% in sales, and I always wonder, are people just not capable of it? Is the environment not conducive to it? Did they not have the right role models? You guys have now done this for literally thousands of women and men, but predominantly women. What have you found? Like, why do we not have all? Why isn't it 100% of people?
Because we as humans God gave us choice, free choice, right? So, that's a double-edged sword. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. We can do what we want. We can decide what we want. We can do all of that. We can change. We can grow. Yeah. However, we can decide not to as well. Yeah. And so the beauty of this business is that I believe anyone can do it. Yeah. It's a matter of if they will. It does take courage because you have to be willing to do things different. You have to be willing to look at yourself. And that's probably the most difficult thing for people. Because if we can look at ourselves and say, hey, in my life, if I don't have what I want or I've not attracted what I want, it's not them. It's not the company. It's not the situation, the economy. It's not who's president. It's not all of that. What can I do because I'm the one that attracts the things into my life? So changing is possible, but will people do it? It's just up to them. We can't force people to change. Can't do it. You can't, make it happen, but they can make it happen. And it's the fun. Honestly, for me, it's the fun. I know that sounds very strange, but I actually enjoy seeing who's it going to be. Yeah. It's like, who's gonna be? I mean, look at Lindsay. I know. You would not predict she was afraid of her own shadow. Yeah. Like afraid of her own shadow. Yeah. And now she's
one of the strongest,
one of the best speakers on the stage. I mean, the first time we asked her to speak, I thought she was going to die. Like, I think she was.
Oh, really?
And then I made a change to the schedule. I had her on the afternoon, and then I said, Lindsay, I need you to come on this morning. She almost took me out. Like she was not happy because she couldn't handle the stress of that. Yeah. She has, we call her our butterfly. She has broken out of the cocoon. And by doing that, her wings are so strong. Yeah. And now she's realizing that struggle and that pain, it's like, embrace it. Yeah. Like, is it hard? Good. Yeah. Is it going to be difficult and scary and risky? Good. Yeah. Because that's going to make you stronger. Yeah. That's the very thing that you need. Yeah. And is it easy? No. Yeah. Because heck, it's easier to sit on the couch and watch reruns, right? For sure. That's way easier than what we're doing here. We're really trying to help people become who they are meant to become. And that's a lot more than probably what they are.
And you look at that process, and it is a process of self-realization or actualization, but it's more self-realization, what we're capable of doing. And that's what you do all day in and day out on that. And as you said, that's the fun of it, observing who will do it. And sometimes it is the most unlikely of people. And I won't say her name, but we need to get someone else on the podcast who comes to my mind with, and you would never think that she's not extroverted. She's not a stage presence. She's not, the things that typically attract that charismatic approach, and yet she's been highly successful because she's so relatable to so many people who feel just like that. And so she's just realized that's her beauty of it. So I know we're running out of time here, but I do want to go to one other area because you both mentioned God multiple times in this, and so I do want to ask you, what is the role of faith and God in your business? And I haven't asked this to anybody, so this is a unique, one of a kind question.
It's huge. It's huge. My parents always took us, to church. I went to school, and I had a lot of it. And as I would pray, I felt that my life was supposed to have meaning. Yeah. I just felt like I was here for a reason, and I never knew what it was. And as I got through life, I did all the things, go to college, get the job. And when I was introduced to this business and I listened to this presentation, and from an unlikely person that normally I probably wouldn't like, the messaging, the story of what was possible, I got a message, and I had a very strong intuition. I was not somebody that you would think would do this business. I just wasn't. In fact, my friend Grace, she was not going to call me because she called my husband. She didn't call me because I had just had a baby. I looked successful. I had a job. I was, I had a happy, but I listened to my intuition or God speaking to me. I said, I got to do this. I don't know why. And I just have to. And I've tried to follow that. Do I always follow it? No. However, every time I have, it's been the greatest thing ever. And God's led me down paths and provided things for me. And because I'm willing. And I believe when you surrender to that, free will and you follow the path that you're being presented, then that's when things happen that are really magical and unexplained. Like some of the things that have happened in my life you just wouldn't have predicted ever. And I think, I just believe that God has a reason for it, because I have a big mission in my life. And there's a lot I want to accomplish. And with that, I can only do that with God. I can't do that by myself.
I think that my favorite quote and like life mantra is pray as if it's up to God, but act as if it's up to me. And I, at a very young age as well, knew that I was meant to make a really big difference in this world. And I think what connected for me on my journey was to be a woman and know that I could have it all. And not only that, but that I could empower other women that they could have it all. Because I think that women, still for sure, 2024, and I still think that not all women think that they can have it all. And no one's going to tell me that I can't have it all. And even today, like at lunch, like the amount of moms that like lose themselves and want something for them is so big. And to be able to give someone that is so crucial. And I don't know.
It's an enormous gift to give somebody else. And I think if we look at it over time, you're right. Eckhart Tolle talks about pain bodies, right? And he talks about how they're generationally, but I think it will continue for the next 50 to 100 years because it's just built, societally speaking, so rooted from a female perspective. I watch my daughters and I'm constantly telling, you don't need to take their name. Like Napierski's a great name, right? Like, let's go. And I think they want to get rid of Napierski. There's a joke that I can't say on this about it, but it's about understanding and realizing that. So I'm going to wrap up with the question, which is, what is that life mission you talk about? What do you want to accomplish, Eileen, by the time, 100 years from now, when you finally pass away?
I want to be known as someone that's empowered women and moms. And it's been amazing in my life already, the evolution I've seen. But I've discovered recently, just really in the last 7 years, that's my mission, that I am here to help women in particular. Not that I can't help men, because I love...
You're helping me.
I love men. I've worked with men all my life. I love helping men, but I'm here to help women.
Okay. And do you have a specific number in mind, or is it as many as possible?
Billions of women.
And what about you, Ashley?
Well, gosh, it's pretty similar. But just, I do want, because I'm not at that point in my life yet. I've got a 7.5-year-old, 5-year-old, and 3-year-old. I'm in the thick of the kiddos. I want my kids to, grow up knowing that they can be and do anything that they want. And have the courage to go for their dreams. But I also want to be known. I do want to be known for empowering women. And that's truly what I want to be known for.
It really is a significant, like, I know we talk about the word empower, but it truly is the most impactful word on the planet. And I think you found a platform to do that, and you do amazing things. And I just think about, even when I think about where our business was even a decade ago versus where it is today, your impact on that mission, your mission is actually impacting an enormous part of the global, like the company's mission, right? Globally. So anyways, thank you for doing that. And thanks for being on the podcast. We could go a lot longer, and there's about 12 other questions that I'd love to ask, but we'll cut it here because your group's downstairs waiting for you. So thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Ryan.
It was fun, right?
It's been fun.
It wasn't that scary, right?